All right. It says that I'm live. Hey, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I hope everyone had a wonderful, I'm freezing there for a second. I hope everyone had a wonderful Memorial Day holiday. Summer is unofficially started. Yay. I love this holiday. So I hope everyone took a moment just to be grateful and to thank service people and essential workers who are our first line of protection against stuff out there in the world like COVID. So to all of you out there who are in our service or are essential workers, from me, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for your service. Truly, you are so appreciated. So on that happy note, I wanted to let you know today's bootcamp class is going to be a little different, as I posted on Facebook. Today, we're really going to be breaking down some of the, basic fundamental moves that you do whenever you're training. And these moves are frequently moves that most people don't get right. So I really wanted to take time today, since it's our off day, so to speak, and break these moves down for you, show you how to do them correctly, why you need to do them, explain why you need to do them correctly, practice a little bit. So this isn't going to be our usual, 25-minute, 20-minute, 6 rounds. We've got 4 exercises that we're going to be going over, and I'm going to be breaking them down, and we're going to be practicing them. And then if we have a little time left over, we'll do some more fun stuff, more things to break down, all right? So on that note, let's go ahead and let me grab my phone here. Whoops. Take 2, let me grab my phone again. And let's start breaking down the exercises that I outlined in the Facebook post. So the first thing that I want to break down for you is the squat. So many people do this particular move wrong. And if you do this move incorrectly, one of the things that you're looking at is an early knee replacement. It is that critical. It is that injurious if you don't do a squat properly. So I'm going to back up so we've got some distance and you can see me working. And let's break down and discuss a proper squat. All right. So you guys know squat is a great lower body exercise. There are dozens, if not hundreds of variations, but you got to get the basic squat correct. So some things to think about with your squat. And of course, everything that I'm saying to you is based on how your body moves. So I may say something that applies to the person over here, but it doesn't apply to you. I may say something, make another point that applies to this person, but not this person. So you know your better body than anybody else. I'm going to give you guys a whole bunch of information, and you pick and choose from it which applies to you. All right? Good. Here we go. So again, squat, wonderful basic move, great for the lower body. Couple things that you need to think about with your squats. Your squats, your feet should either be facing forward, let me back up, facing forward, or sometimes they can turn out slightly at about a 45-degree angle. Which way your feet point is totally up to you because it's based on your anatomy. So for some people, they really need their feet to point out because that's what direction their knees are going to also go, because you want to make sure that your hips, your knees, and your feet, everything is pointing the same direction, all right? So for some folks, that may feel more comfortable, everything facing forward. Other folks, depending on their anatomy, everything pointed out. So your foot position, super, super important. Forward or slightly turned out, all right? The second thing I want you to think about is your also foot placement, but the distance your feet are apart. So generally speaking, they should be shoulder width or more apart. You don't want them less than shoulder width. That can put extra strain on the knees, all right? So shoulder width or slightly wider apart, all right? From here, another thing that you want to think about when you're doing your squat is where is your weight? Where is your body weight when you're doing your squat? What you do not want, I'm going to turn to the side, and I'm actually going to get a chair because I cannot do this way. It really does a number on my knees. You'll see many people when they're doing their lunges, and their squats, where they're taking and their weight is forward. And the way that you know their weight is forward is their knee is equal to, or more importantly, or maybe it's not important, but more unfortunately, their knee is past their toe. So you do not want to do squats, I can't even do it, like this, where all of your weight is forward. Because when you do a squat like that or a lunge like that, what you're doing is you're stressing the knee joint. You're really putting a lot more pressure on the knee joint than the knee was designed to make. And you're looking at a knee replacement. All right. So where should your weight be when you do a squat? Your weight should be in your heels, in the back of your feet. All right. So what that looks like, and a colorful picture for you to put in your mind to help you with your squat, is you want to have your weight behind you. And the way that you get that weight behind you is for women. Women, the center of our gravity is right here in our hips. And for men, it's in your upper body. You want your weight to be behind you, which means for most of us, if we think about sticking our butt out, all right? If you think about sticking that butt behind you, what that does, I will step to the side here and put this mat out so you can get some contrast. What that does is that allows for you to get that weight behind you. And more importantly, I want you to take a look. Woo! Too much. Take a look at where my knees are in relation to my toes. All right? It is okay if your knees are even with your toes. All right? What is nice is when your knees go past your toes. All right? So everything's stacked up. We're cool with that. But the minute your knees start going past your toes, that means you're putting unnecessary force on your knees and you're starting to mess with that joint there. You don't want to do that. That's looking at a knee replacement. Can't even stress it enough, guys. So with our squat, you want your feet shoulder width or slightly wider apart. Depending on your anatomy, your feet will either point forward or they'll point slightly out. I like mine to point just a little bit out, all right? And it's okay if you need to take some time and kind of go back and forth and find that foot placement that is comfortable for you, all right? So the next thing, you want your weight in your heels, which means kind of sticking your butt behind you. So when you go down in that squat, that weight is behind you, and you can test this in several ways. When you get to the bottom of your squat, can you wiggle your toes in your shoes, all right? Can you lift them up? If you can wiggle your toes in your shoes or lift them up, that means your weight is exactly where it needs to be. It's in the back, it's in your heels, all right? Another way, you do that squat and you can't wiggle your toes, that means your weight is on your toes. Shift that weight back. All right, so we've talked about our foot placement, feet forward, parallel, or slightly turned out. Foot placements, again, in terms of the distance your feet are apart, shoulder width or more. We've talked about putting our weight behind us, which means putting our weight in our heels, all right? We know that our weight is in our heels because we can wiggle our toes, right? So we're stacking stuff up here. Then something else you need to think about when you are doing this squat. You want your glutes to be activated, all right? You want your hamstrings and your quads working together. When you do your squat, you don't want this to happen, guys, all right? Can you see how my knees are rolling in and my feet are rolling in? You don't want that. Again, that's putting undue pressure on all of your joints. You're going to feel it in one way or another in your ankles, in your knees, in your hips. It's messing with the way your body works, the mechanics of your body. So don't let those feet and those knees roll in. Conversely, you don't want your feet to roll out and your knees to bow out. You want to keep your feet and your knees pointing straight ahead. Here's something to think about. When you're doing your squat, the way to keep everything either in alignment if your feet are pointing forward or they're pointed slightly out is you want to think about when you come down in that squat, if you can think about your weight being on the outside of your foot, all right? The outside of your foot, guys. So you're not letting, if this, my hands are my feet, you're not letting your feet roll in and letting those arches get flat, all right? You're keeping that weight on the outside of the foot, all right? What that does is that helps activate the posterior chain. You've heard me say that almost every day since we started. The posterior chain are your glutes, your hamstrings back here. You want that posterior chain activated and stabilizing. The most important part of that posterior chain are your glutes medius. They help stabilize that hip, all right? So you want to come down. You're feeling your weight in your heels and on the outside of your feet. My knees are still pointed forward. On the way up, you want to squeeze those glutes and those hamstrings and quads. You want to squeeze everything on the way up, all right? I know that's a lot of talk. That's a lot of breakdown, but that move is really, really important. And when you have a proper squat with great form, you're going to get a lot more out of the exercise, and you're also going to make sure that you don't get an injury, all right? So let's go over that squat. Let's practice them together, guys. I've broken it down for you a lot. And again, it's okay when you're learning and practicing this so you get the right muscle memory. If you kind of, go back and forth a little bit, find that comfortable space for you, that comfortable place, spacing for you, and let's do our squats, all right? Core engaged, chest lifted, chin up. All right, let's take it down. Let's take it down and up, all right? Take it down and up. Good job, guys. Keep going. Take it down and up. Good. So something you might want to think about, a little visual to help you. Keep those knees pointing in the proper direction. If you think that someone maybe has taken and placed a baseball bat or something in between your knees so that they stay in alignment, so that they don't roll in when we do our squat, that's a great way to keep your alignment. Think about the weight on the outside of those feet. Think about that weight in your heels. Okay, keep going, guys. Let's do 4 more. Good. 3 more. 2 more. Last one. Hold it here for just a second. Hold it. On the way up, I really want you to squeeze and activate those glutes. Good, guys. Hopefully you can feel that. You might feel some stuff working a little differently. What we're going to start incorporating in our training is a little bit of glute activation, because most of us who sit at a desk, mercifully I don't anymore, but if you sit at a desk all day, those glutes can get really weak, and you can have trouble trying to find them, to activate them during an exercise like a squat or a lunge. So we're going to do some glute activating exercises to help you find those muscles, all right? And I think I might make a video and put it in our library so that you guys have a resource. Kind of the reason why I'm making this video. I want this in your library archive so that you can always come back to it anytime you want to work and clean up on your squat. And please don't ever hesitate. If you have a question, put something in the comments, because I can always answer you there. All right, enough talk on our lunge. I hope I broke that, on our squat. I hope I broke that down. You understand what's going on. The next exercise I want to do is lower body is a lunge. It's another one of those exercises that's frequently done incorrectly. And I cringe when I see it, because I keep thinking to myself, this poor person is looking at their knees getting totally jacked. If you've ever had knee pain, you know what I'm talking about. And those exercises done incorrectly is an express jet to knee pain. And I don't want anybody to have knee pain. It is not fun. Lunge. All right. So if you are not familiar with a lunge, it is that exercise where you'll step out and your knees and legs are like at a 90-degree angle. All right. You can do a lunge to the front. You can do a lunge sideways, which looks like this. And then, of course, you can do a lunge to the back. Some things you need to think about when you are doing your lunge. Just like when we're doing our squat, you need to make sure that your knee does not exceed your toe, all right? So if you're a really tall person, you may actually be in a situation where your knee may, again, depending on how you're built, for you, you could be doing a squat and a lunge absolutely perfectly in terms of your form, but your knee may go a little past your toe. And that's where I'm talking about. Everyone needs to take their own body and how their own physiology works into account. The rules that I'm giving you are not hard and fast. There's always an exception to some rule, but the core of what I'm saying is what you need to take to heart to make sure that your form is correct. Lunge. So when you're doing a lunge, you want to make sure that that core is activated in everything you do. Chest is lifted. And a lot of people, when they're learning how to clean up their lunge, they may take a big dramatic lift in their leg. So instead of just putting leaving their leg low, they take a big step and come out into their lunge. Let me step on the mat to add contrast for you guys. So when you're doing a lunge, all right. So with the lunge, you want, again, your knee and your toe should be in alignment. You don't want your knee past your toe, all right? So this would be perfect alignment here. My knee is over my ankle. My knee can be a little forward too, as long as it's not past my toe. It can be even with the toe, all right? The next part of the lunge, this back leg, and I know I'm resting on my knee. If you're doing a lunge, you wouldn't be, but this is a great opportunity to show you the alignment of your shoulders, your hips, and your knee. Ideally, this is what you want here with this back leg. Right here, all right? You can have your knee a little behind you. What I don't want you guys doing is this deal right here. Frequently, if you've got this going on with the knee way behind the hip, you've also got the knee way over the toe. All right? So with your lunge, you want your head, shoulders, hips, and knee in alignment. Maybe that knee a little behind you. You definitely do not want, guys, this number. Do you see how I'm kind of breaking here at the hip and my knee is in front of me? You don't want that. That's often what's done. A shallow, we call that a shallow squat because the legs aren't strong, all right? So it's more important, guys, when you're doing these exercises, it's not about how low you can go. If this is how low you can go in your lunge, that's great because your form is correct. And so your weight is distributed well. It's not to the back, it's not to the front. You just can't take it as low, but you will be able to get lower as you get stronger, all right? Let me demonstrate the other leg. Balance for the body. So again, whoa, here's the position on this, whoa, gravity's working today. Here's the position on this lunge, all right? The knee is either over the ankle or over the toe. It is not past the toe. And then again, that back leg, we have head, shoulders, hips, and knees in alignment. One of the ways that you can really kind of think about what you're doing with the lunge, before I proceed there, the last point, your weight in your heels. Again, your weight in your heels. So you stepped out to do the lunge. You want your weight in your heel, not in your toe, in your heel. And when you push back, come straight back to your center, all right? Big step forward, weight in your heel, push back, all right? Got that, guys? Let's do a couple together. Stepping forward, coming back. Big step, my weight is in my heels. My weight is in my heels. Let me get on the mat for some contrast. My weight is in my heels. The heel of that forward leg. My weight is in my heels. And when my weight is in my heel, I push through my heel. I push back through the heel. All right? Good work, guys. So that's our lunge. Let's see how we're doing on time. Woo, good. We've got a little bit of time left. All right. So the next thing up, plank. Everybody loves to do a plank. Everyone's talking about the plank is a full body workout, and it is, if it's done correctly. Many are not. So let's go over the plank. So a plank can be done in one of several ways. The full version is with your arms fully extended, your legs fully extended. The modifications on the plank can be you're modified on your forearm, you're modified on your knees, or the double modification where you're on your forearm and your knees. The plank gets its name from being in a position that looks like a piece of wood, looks like a plank. So you want to make sure that your body is straight in terms of your head and your feet, and your butt isn't up in the air or sinking down low. Let me demonstrate for you. All right, a full plank. Your arms are extended, and you want to make sure that your hands are underneath your shoulder. You don't want your hands to be in front of your shoulder. You don't want your hands to be behind your shoulder. So for example, my hands are behind my shoulder. It's very uncomfortable for the shoulder joint. My hands are in front of my shoulder. Now that's actually a very advanced type of plank that you can do. There is a place for it, but not when we're doing our basic plank. All right. Proper position. My hands are underneath my shoulder. The modification on the forearm. Basically, your elbow is underneath your shoulder. All right. Here's the modified version. Again, you want to make sure your seat is not up in the air, nor do you want those hips dropping down to the ground, whether it is the modified or the full plank. Not in the air, not dropped. Now here's a subtle distinction I want to really explain to you guys. When you're doing this plank, everyone's got a back seat. So when you are making that straight line, there's going to be a little rise where your seat is, where you really want to concentrate on that straight line. You don't want to think of a straight line along your back. You want to think of that straight line as it relates to this front plane of your body. Does that make sense? So you're not trying to think of a straight line back here. You got some junk in your trunk. You can't get a straight line back there, but you can get a straight line through your chest, hips, and knees. That's where you want to think about that straight line that I'm talking about, okay? So the plank. The full plank. Hands underneath the shoulders. The straight line is right here, all right? And the last thing that we're going to talk about in terms of the plank to make it a full body exercise is you want to push through your heels, all right? That posterior chain, I'm going to talk about it again. You want to activate that posterior chain. If you are pushing through your heels, that means that your calves are being activated. That means your hamstrings are activating. That means your glutes are activating, all right? And that's what you want, because if you put yourself in a plank position and just let the front of your body do all the work and not let the back of your body join in that party, you're not getting as much out of your plank as you could, all right? You want balance on the body. So when the front of the body works, you want the back of the body working also. And in that plank position, everybody needs to come and join this party, all right? Let's check the time. We've got about 5 minutes. So let's get in a plank position. I'm going to start with a modified plank. All right? So in this modified plank, my hips are in a straight line. My elbows are underneath my shoulders. I'm pushing through my heels, which means I'm activating my calves, my glutes, my hamstrings. and my belly button is sucked in. The last thing I want to talk about, guys, is when you are in that plank position, you want to open up those shoulders. What you don't want to happen when you're doing your plank is you don't want those shoulder blades to retract. You want those shoulder blades and that scapula open, all right? So that means instead of everything bunching together, it's opening up, all right? That does not mean that you hunch over. That just means that you open your back, all right? And you can open your back without hunching over. So let's get in that position one more time, all right? I'm gonna do it with my hands fully extended. So I'm in a full plank. I'm opening up my back as opposed to letting them sink. Can you see the difference there, guys? Opening up that back, pushing through my heels, sucking that belly button in. All right? So that's our plank position. When you're doing the plank, make it easy, guys. I know when I'm doing my boot camp, I'm pushing you and I'm making you hold it for 45 seconds, but you already know if that's too long, you're always welcome to take a rest and then come back into the plank, all right? So we've gone over our squats, our lunge, our plank, and the last thing I want to go over is the push-up, all right? So with the push-up, there are lots of modifications. The first modification can be done on a wall if you don't have the upper body strength to do one. You move this back. So when you're doing your plank, your push-up on the wall, you want to make sure that your hands are about shoulder width apart, maybe a little wider, okay? Your hands are underneath your shoulder. You can stand back from the wall a little bit so that you're at a slight angle. And when you come down in that push-up, I'm going to ask you, as you approach the wall, to turn your head. Because what you don't want is you don't want to do the turtle and reach for the wall with your head. That breaks the alignment with your head over your shoulders, and that puts pressure and stress on your neck, all right? So your modified push-up, right here. And when you're doing that, turn that head because you want to keep your body in that plank position. All right? When you're doing this modified push-up, where are you going to feel it? You want to feel it through your chest. You might feel a little bit in your bicep and tricep, and you might feel a little in your back. All right? So that's the modified wall push-up that everyone can do. The next step, you're still not ready to do a push-up on the ground. That's when you grab something like a chair, a bench, a steady table, maybe even your sofa. And the higher up, the better as we're progressing toward the ground. A chair like this is great because you can start with it and do the push-up on the back of the chair. And for safety's sake, you can always take a chair like this, which is lightweight, push it up against a wall so that the wall is holding the chair and it doesn't slide, all right? So here, with our modified push-up, we're hanging onto our chair, and we can come down and up, down and up. Again, if you want to try and make sure that you avoid Mr. Turtlehead, turn your head to the side when you're doing the push-up, all right? So modified on a chair or a bench. All right, and then the last progression, we've done it on the back of the chair. We progress to the seat of the chair. And then final progression of the push-up on the ground. There are two forms, the full push-up, and I will fully admit my upper body strength does not allow me to do a whole lot of them. Might be able to crank out 2, all right, or 1. The full push-up or the modified, which is on your knees. Same hand position as we have in a plank. You want your hands underneath your shoulders, all right? You still want your body in a straight plank line. This part, the front of your body, down and up, down and up. All right. Now we are getting toward the end of our time together, and I always want to make sure that I respect your time, keep it on time. So the push-up, again, it can be done in a progression starting on the wall, progressing to the chair where you're using the back of the chair, then the seat of the chair, progressing to the floor, modified on your knees, and then eventually the full position, all right? So we are at 1:30, guys. I really appreciate you being here. I hope this has been a useful tool for you. I would like to provide more of these videos as a resource for you so that you can go back and take a look at how to do these exercises correctly. Proper form is everything. Proper form means you're going to avoid injury. When you get injured, that's sidelining you from your workout, and that's when you might not get back to it. So let's keep things moving. Let's keep things moving safely and effectively. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys tomorrow for regular boot camp. Thanks. Have a great day. Stay dry. I think it's raining. Bye.